Welcome back. You join us here as we begin race 2 of week 3 right here on Cadesport in what has proven to be an edge of your seat 4-week series of Pro Power preview races. You're here with me, Mark, and
hi, and Beth. I'm here again. Mark, how are you? How did Tuesday go? Crazy, huh?
it was crazy. Yeah, we saw the return of the steering mechanic, the crash dynamic, and we also saw the return of power-ups. And again, with the Pro Power preview races, we saw an upset to the balance, if you will.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see that race after race. And here today, we're taking a look at the course preview, Going to the Sun Smash. Now, this course is modeled after an iconic route in Glacier National Park. Is that right, Mark?
That's true, yeah. So supposedly the bicycle path that runs through Montana's Glacier National Park, and there are two versions of this. There's one where they have the elevation that is set to the real world elevation that you'd see there. Then we have today's version where we have a lowered elevation. So today's elevation only being 43 meters.
Well, and also with the strategy, though, in play, if we've got some of the vertical, we have some of the power moves at play here, so it's going to definitely be more tactical here. You can see here the stats on the race here, the first race here, 15 kilometers, and we've got sort of a medium difficulty, same with the second medium difficulty. So Going to the Sun, we're going to see, and then we're going to move right into a 7-kilometer flat road race on Lakeview. And man, I am really excited to see what legs are left for the second race. Now, that's another strategy that I don't know if I've had a chance to talk about it, but it's that if you know that you're technically strong and you're going for it in the first race, the second race, you need to save a little something, particularly on a ride like that that's going to have a more of a flat road and, again, some more tactics at play. And then on to race 3, they go on to actually a cool down ride. Is that correct? So that they can all kind of swap stories and chat about what happened in the game.
That's right. Yeah, just so they can get rid of that anaerobic and settle a bit more down into a warm down, if you will, or a cool down. Yeah, and that's certainly one of my favorite courses, the Echelon. I ride it quite frequently for sprint training with the AC speed builders.
And again, of course, it looks like we're going across some different types of maps, ending on the sci-fi map. And I always find those sci-fi maps so fun because we are in a virtual environment and we can have roads model, an iconic climb in Glacier National Park. And also we can have ones that are only limited by our imagination. So let's talk about the power-ups at play. We've just got about 17 seconds here before the gate drops.
Yeah, so we have 2 power-ups. We have the corner caper, and then we have the power plant. Riders will have 2 of each, and they last for 20 seconds apiece. The corner caper, you've seen it in play if you've watched the races before. So it just helps riders to corner. And power plant would provide...
Now, it looks like we've got a lot of positioning here. When they come out of the gate, Mark, just so the viewers at home understand here, it did look like the avatars were a semi-transparent color, and they were able to pass through each other. And I think that's just out of the gate while people are jockeying for position, depending on... Whoa! Esma goes down! She's got to get back up and drop the power and connect back with some of those riders. You can also see there on the right-hand side of the screen there, we do have a different display for the nearby riders list. There's a couple new things that are new in game to talk about. Mark, you want to call that out as we watch Esma come back to the group?
Yeah, for sure. So you see that red highlighting on that right-hand stats display. That shows us when a rider has crashed. And so if we see the yellow highlighting...
Yep. That's who we're on board with. Yep. So you can see there we're on Erhan on his wheel here, and he's coming up hot onto Frank, locks into that wheel, and has to settle down. And we don't see his power in this display. And some of the nearby riders' displays, we're able to sort of see what they're doing with the pro power. We've got Carl Axel Daniel, we've got Tim Fulford, Christian Weedman, Sebastian Kuhn, Vanessa, Peter, Shaq, Lucia, Esther, Jody. Lots of names here that are familiar to me and to Cadesport, but no surprise there. Tim Fulford and Frank in the front here, and Carl Axel holding the first position here. Does have a little bit of a space. Doesn't look like a proper gap, but I think he's just trying to mind his positioning here to not give everyone a free ride, and also to take those corners in a way that you would outside on a closed course, where you can really shorten the distance by sort of cutting that corner and picking your own line, and you have that opportunity in the front to be making those types of decisions. You can see here Tim coming around Carl Axel on the outside, turning. And I'm not sure what the max speeds are here, but strategically, the riders are going to save those corner capers for opportunities. Oh, here comes. Is that a power plant? So right now, this rider gets an extra 200 watts on top of his pro power, and he goes into the corner, and corner caper and the power plant back to back. Frank is actually just laying it down, saying, watch this. This is how you play this game. I wrote the game. This is how you play it, okay? Take note, Christian, Tim, Carl, Erhan, Sebastian, Vanessa. Peter from CCC is also in there. It's nice to see his name. Elsa as well, further down in the pack. But right now, Frank has got an 8-second gap on Christian and Tim, and Christian and Tim are going to try to close it down. Tim's going to tighten up that gap a little bit to take Christian's wheel, let Christian pull him back, and it's deciding. Christian's probably going to say, yeah, 9 seconds, no way, Tim. If you want to pull me, go ahead. But maybe just waiting to see, to get this chase group on Frank off the front, let the peloton settle back around, and maybe all work together to close that gap here. And here you can also see a rider here on our right screen. That is Carl Axel. He is smart and strategic, and you can see the focus in his eyes. You can see the work and the effort that he's maintaining there to stay in that front group, and hopefully he and Christian and Tim can work together and not let Frank get away. But Frank is maintaining that 9-second gap. And we saw how that was done. He just doubled up on his power-ups and just blasted off the front. So, if I were, whoa, Tim goes down. Tim must be new to the map. I don't usually see Tim crashing out. He's very studious, takes a look at all the maps. Here's a little replay on what happened here. The crash cam, you see him going into the corner, trying to close that gap, just too much speed, slides outside and ends up in the ditch, right back up on it, dropping the power, being like, you know what, I'm Tim Fulford. I can get back on that. But that is some power there. Now we're on Sebastian's wheel here, knowing that Carl Axel and Christian are just 4 seconds up the road. He's trying to make that connection to use that group and hopefully close that gap up to Frank, who's now got 12 seconds on Christian and Carl. So right now, 12 seconds on Sebastian, but still that 9-second gap between Christian and Carl Axel is there.
Yeah, it's worth noting as well that the power plant that Frank Garcia used, that adds a 200 watt bonus, if you will, a benefit of 200 watts onto the power that they're putting out. So for me, for example, if you do that by the calculation by kilograms, I'm about 79 kilograms. So that's, for me, that would be about 2.5 watts per kilo. So that's a huge advantage where Frank can either add some extra pressure onto the cranks, or he can let go a little bit and get that huge amount of power, and we can see the huge advantage that gave him.
Yeah, and what he did is he dropped the combo, right? He dropped the power plant, got the speed going, knowing he was coming up to the corner. So he used that speed, was able to drop the corner caper at the right time to power through the corner. And, that the other racers were, kind of considering maybe to back off on their speed a little bit. So it was a really smart play there by Frank, and it's paid off. So it looks like he's holding it, but he does have a couple a couple on his wheel, both Carl Axel and Sebastian and Christian Wingman coming saying like, yeah, nope, I'm going to get there. You can see they see him up on the horizon line. And that's another sort of psychological thing, 2-second gap. If you can see the person in front of you, it's just motivation to try to catch that wheel. Carl Axel there back in the action. Does look like Tim is still 5 seconds back, so Tim still has an opportunity to kind of make that connection. But Carl Axel says, I have got this, and he is not necessarily letting Christian take his wheel. Christian's trying to close that down and make connection. There he is. He's sliding into the draft. There he is. He's on his wheels. So now Carl Axel is taking Christian with him, but he dropped a little bit more power and said, "Oh no, you don't. No, you don't." That lane change there, watching these turns, making sure this is like a very dangerous thing when your heart rate is high and you're trying to chase someone down and you've got the road turning before you. You do have to pay attention to that speed to make sure that you don't slide out and make a critical mistake when you're just about to put it down. So here they are. They've made contact with Frank. Carl Axel and Frank side by side there. Christian coming into the draft there. Tim Fulfer only 5 seconds back. Sebastian 7 seconds back. So maybe Tim and Sebastian can kind of make a coalition and close that down. I know that Sebastian and Tim together could individually could close that down, but together I think they'd be formidable to kind of come up and get to this pack. You can see there the riders on your screen. We've got Christian and Carl Axel. Their efforts are real. You can see them making changes, and also Christian has his phone there on his handlebars. Mark, tell me what that's about here. How does that help the steering?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm certain what Christian has done here is, as he's gone into the game, he's used his phone to scan the QR code that comes up in Cadesport, which leads people to the companion app. And so it uses the gyroscope of the phone when attached to a mount like that. And so what Christian can do is he can actually just steer with his handlebars as you would in the outside world. And it works on the gyroscope for lane selection and for steering as well, but also with the braking mechanic.
Yeah, that's fabulous, not having to get onto the keyboard, I think, which was in the former iteration. But I'll tell you, these riders that are familiar with the game got pretty darn good at using the keyboard commands. But having the companion app is a huge, big step forward for Cadesport, as well as all of these new maps and the new dynamics that we see here at play. Okay, now we've got 4 here. Tim did get to this front group. And if I know Tim, he's probably listening to the commentary saying, yeah, Beth, I am going to take the win here. He's tucked in there into the draft, and I would be pretty nervous if I was Carl Axel on the front. So now, one of the things that I remember when I'm racing is that I try to recall who's used what power up, and those are expressed in the nearby riders list as well. So you can kind of keep an eye on, it's like a poker game. Like what people are holding in their pockets. Like what can we expect here? We already saw Frank demonstrate a combo move on one of the corners. Are we going to see one of these other racers here make that same move now that they've sort of seen it in action? I'm not sure if you saw that on Tuesday, but this is getting exciting because right now it's anybody's game. These front 4 riders, it could be any one of them.
Yeah, on Tuesday we saw the handling come into play, and Christian was almost doing like a real-world criterion
Carl Axel,
trail break.
Sorry to interrupt. Did you see that? There we go. Sorry to interrupt you there. Frank says, okay, take 2 on that. Yep. He's like, dudes, I can just hear Frank in my head saying like, dude, you saw me do it once. You heard Beth talk about it. Like you knew it was coming. That now his game is to hold this to the end. You can see that we're at about halfway through the course. We're about 7.1 kilometers in with 7.9 kilometers to go. By my book, if each rider gets 2, this is the poker that I'm talking about. We now know that Frank has used both his quarter capers and both his power plants. So if Sebastian and Christian have anything in their pocket along with Carl Axel, if they can get it back to Frank, then they will be able to kind of do that same move. But my simple brain says this: 7.5 halfway through. Frank waited till the second half, got another 8 or 9 second lead, 8 right now, and he's probably saying, "Oh, what does the red mean? Does that mean he just crashed?" Oh boy. See, anything can happen. Christian putting the corner caper down, saying, okay, I just saw a crash up there by my friend Frank. I think that's what it was. And he is saying, I am going to use my corner caper, close it down. Christian takes the front, Sebastian behind him, Carl, and now Frank in fourth. See, now this is what it is. So Frank got that turbo power from the plant power, got the corner caper, got an 8-second lead. Christian was patient and he waited for the opportunity for Frank to overcook it. And what I was going to say before Frank crashed was, it's likely that, Frank did the calculation of like, well, the first half I got an 8-second lead. It took them half the course to close it down. I'm going to wait till the second half and do the same move again. So if I'm a betting person, I would say that that this is looking really good for Christian, Carl Axel, and Sebastian, not knowing what power-ups they've used. I don't know if you've been keeping track, Mark.
Yeah, it looks like Frank has used both of his up now. So that's
Yep.
So all four, 2 of each they've gone. But certainly Christian's held something back, and I don't think Carl has used any yet. So Carl is.
So I think got an opportunity here on board with Sebastian here, and Sebastian looking good in third place, just 4 seconds behind the leaders. Kind of maybe a waiting game. Sebastian has an incredible engine. So Sebastian also has an incredible ability to suffer. But wait a second, it looks like we've got another power plant up there in the front by Christian. We have the power plant. Christian was laying it down, and you can see Carl Axel not yet ready to deploy any of his moves to match. He says, I'm going to just try to do as much with my legs until I need the power up. I think that's what he's doing. He kind of maintained that. He didn't let Christian get any more than 2 or 3 seconds up the road, and has probably another power up in his pocket. And I don't want to reveal the tactics because I'm just looking into the crystal ball, thinking about what I would do with my normal right now 50-48 resting heart rate when I can think clearly here. And here's Irhan. Hi, Irhan. You're looking good out there today. Nice racing. Up out of the saddle hill, dropping a little bit more power. Yes, I appreciate the wave. You focus on your racing. You're killing it. It's been a pleasure to watch you and to call out your name here in the game. Back on with Christian right now. He's got a 6-second lead on Sebastian. First out of 33, you can see in the leaderboard there. You can also see the pro power at play. You can see the equalized heart rates there, where you can kind of get an idea of sort of how cooked folks are. So it looks like Christian's heart rate's just a few beats lower than Sebastian's. He's trying to hold that front and settle down, and Sebastian's going to do a little bit of work to try to get there. You can see Carl Axel's heart rate is also a little bit higher than Christian's, and it seems like I'm splitting hairs here, but every heartbeat matters. Every time you can have a chance to get a micro recovery to just make your moves, you need to take it. So here we go. Coming across the line is Christian. All right, congratulations. Third lap. Coming back, Carl Axel second, Sebastian in third. And then Tim Fulford here coming around that final bend, making the final stretch. No one far behind him, doesn't have to punch the power. Remember, they have a second race after this, so, they are not racing for time, they're racing for position here, and they'll be moving into the second race shortly here. Frank Garcia, 16 back here, demonstrated a few things that I think any student should make note of. I know I have just made note of it, is sort of those combo plays, when to play it, and then just watch the corner speed so I don't have a mistake. But that happens specifically when your heart rate is high. Sharon, I love it. Why didn't I ever think of that before, Sharon? I love it. All right, the Shack. Sharon Hackathorn coming across the line. Strong finish. Nice job, Sharon. Awesome. All right, back here, we're going to watch Luca go across the line. Erhan is behind him, along with Vanessa, Esma, Homer, Esther, all of those folks coming across the line, going to make it into the next race here. What do we have in the next race while we're watching these finishers come across? Here's Vanessa. Nice work, Vanessa.
So we're on the Lakeview course after this one. So this has even more tighter bends and obstacles as well, in the form of barriers that come up as well. So lots of steering mechanic will come into play, lots of the crash dynamic for sure, and being really, really careful with those power-ups.
Yeah, and for the next one, we also have some power-ups to play, and with 3.9 to go here as these final riders come through on the last lap. I'm sorry, I was thinking we were finishing that lap. One more lap. Beth, get with the program here. So, we still got Christian in the front, 2 seconds ahead of Sebastian. Carl Axel right there, not wanting to lose connection there with Sebastian, saying, you know what, I could fight for second with Sebastian, or the two of us could work together and all three of us could fight for first. 3.6 kilometers to go. Thank you for putting that up there. So I know I saw them come across the line. I was thinking that was the finish, but we've got one more lap here. 3.5 kilometers to go. You can see Carl Axel and Christian there racing side by side, but they are at the comfort of their own pain cave. And that's kind of a funny sentence to say, the comfort of their own pain cave. But they are racing together here in the game, and you can see them closing it down there on Christian. Oh, he goes. Carl says, this is my time to shine here. Biding his time here. Sebastian's got the power up on the corner caper. Sebastian laying down the power with the corner caper, not worrying about speed. And I think the only thing to worry about here is when does that power up go out. So now you see it's 20 seconds. So one of the things, you get all that speed going up, and he played it wonderfully coming into a straightaway. Christian here in second, just a second behind him. Oh, power plant dropped by Carl Axel. Wow, he said, my legs could use it. Tim tucking in saying, I'll take that draft all day long. Okay, perfect. I'm just gonna hook right up to you. But it doesn't look like he's able. Oh, he did not lose it on that. They did make some headway there on Sebastian at the front, the two of them together here. And Carl Axel wiping the sweat from his brow, needs a towel, working so hard. Okay, Tim coming around, deciding to make a move. 2.5 kilometers to go here for the front rider. These folks a little bit further back. Carl Axel not letting Tim get away, saying, like, you know what, you sucked on my wheel. I'm going to return the favor. Oh boy, there he goes. Christian dropping another corner caper here, coming around saying, I am going to get Sebastian. Same thing, Carl Axel side by side. You can see both of them dropping those corner capers, making sure they can use all the power without sliding out, saving it for the last few turns here. 2.1 kilometers to go. Right now, it could be any one of these three racers. Now, these guys are all skilled. They're all strong. They're all tactical. It looks like Tim might have crashed trying to cook it coming back. I saw the red. When you see the red on their names there, that does mean that they have slid out in a corner and crashed. So it does look like just with 1.8 kilometers to go, Tim will not be fighting here for the one of the top three positions. It's Sebastian, Christian, and Carl Axel. Look at that, working together. This is the enemy of my friend is my friend, or the friend of my friend is my enemy. I forget how that saying goes, but when you're in cycling and you're taking the wheel, you know, the alliances and then the power drops. Christian there in the front, 1.4 kilometers to go. Just about 3 seconds on Carl Axel. I'm not sure if Carl Axel has any more power-ups to rely on. He might be just duking it out with that 1 second lead that he has on Sebastian in the second and third position here. 1.3 kilometers to go. Here we go. Oh, he does. He comes around. Carl Axel with the power plant. And then matched by Christian's power plant saying, hey, I still have one of these left. Watching the speed into the corner there, driving around here. I'm not sure what the max speed is, but you can see the KPH there. So making some notes there of what you're seeing here in terms of their speed differentials on that. Carl Axel and Christian here on screen, and Sebastian in third. Sebastian drops the power up here. Oh my gosh, coming around the corner here, passing Christian, who was holding the front by 2 or 3 seconds, saying, I am using this as strategically as I can. I still have it in my legs. And this is a know yourself, know what your body can do in the last point. Oh, less than 1 kilometer left here. What are we going to see at the finish here? I don't know who the sprinters are, Mark. Tell me.
So for sure, yeah, the big power engine here is Sebastian, who's really given us a whole load of power. Seems to come from his real world mountain bike experience. Yeah, so definitely got some power in those quads and those glutes, for sure. Carl Axel is our most placing, though. How do I phrase that properly? He's the rider who has placed the most between first and third.
That does not surprise me. He's an incredible athlete, but also an all-arounder when it comes to the game. Here we go. Sebastian laying on a little bit, just kind of cruising across the line. No, he's got 5 seconds now. Now that's the final lap. I can call it now. Sebastian coming in first. Carl Axel coming across the line second. Christian coming back into third, which is nothing to be very proud in these top three positions. It is so hard to race, not just physically but mentally. Tim Fulford here, the strategic player, always plays it smart. Must have just overcooked it in one of the corners, and he's going to come along the line fourth. And now, after this race, we go into Lakeside with the obstacles and the corners. So, what an incredible race! Thought Frank was going to have it off the start. Did this turn out the way you thought it was going to?
Honestly, no. I honestly thought that Frank had the lead there, and for some reason he's got the choice of the tri-bike here, which is it's got the lowered rolling resistance. But my critique of tri-bikes in real world and in any kind of virtual platform is that their handling is going to be a little bit lesser than a road bike. So yeah, it really surprised me actually to see Frank kind of lose that edge.
Yeah, well, maybe he's been riding just a different, bike, and maybe he sort of had in his mind that, hey, listen, if I can drop the power-ups and I can get enough of, away, then I'm going to be able to be smart in the corners and not overcook them. And probably, just like you said, the rolling resistance was probably what caught him on that tri-bike, the handling and such, just like you mentioned in real life. Going on to race number 2, excellent effort and tactics by all of the racers. Race number 2 here, 7 kilometers, medium difficulty, Lakeview lanes. Now, I think we're just going to do one lap on this. Is that true?
No, I believe it is 3 as well, but making up a total of 7 kilometers.
Okay. Very good. I wasn't sure if Lakeview Lakeside Lanes had an expansion here. All right, here are the live results. Here are the Pro Power Preview Week 3. Sebastian takes first, Carl Axel second, Christian third, Tim, Frank, my Shakalaka, Sharon, love it, Luca, and Erhan. Great work there. You can see, just there were some gaps. They were close and a lot of closing. Takes so much energy when you make a mistake and you're trying to get into the peloton and chase down all those attacks. But that was some really exciting racing. I really like to see those power-ups in play for today's race. It really made it exciting and interesting. All right, we're about 30 seconds here to our second race. You can see Carl Axel is warming up here. We've got Tim coming around. So what will happen is, as they're in this transition cool down, they're trying to do what they need to do. That is the example of what you'll see. It doesn't matter right now. Carl is, powering up here with his own nutrition, staying hydrated, and he just demonstrated what you don't do in a race because he wasn't even paying attention because he was fueling up. 5 seconds to go. Now everyone is on point. 2, 1, and the gate goes down. Dropping some power here. We're on board with Carl Axel. We've got a great view of the field. Everybody taking those first 5 seconds here to jockey for position. You can see that Shaq's right out in front with Sebastian just taking the edge, saying, you know what, I am going to set the pace for this ride. And then we did see Sharon go down on these lanes here. So now I haven't. Peter here, Castrip, my friend Peter, Team CCC, looking sharp over there. It's been a while since I've had a conversation with my friend Peter. It's great to see him out here on course, taken in the front there. This is a course that he's definitely familiar with. It's a game that he's played and proven himself in. He doesn't have Homer up there with him for tactics, but there's less. I mean, there is some teamwork that can be obviously on all of these courses, but when you do find yourself alone up here, there are other tactics you can do for the riders behind you. What lines you pick, knowing what lane to be in before you need to change lanes is super important. So, and I haven't actually used the gyroscope, so I don't know how those lane changes, they look pretty darn smooth.
Oh, they're really, really accurate. They're fantastic. I believe, I've never noticed this before, but I believe Peter has actually got a keyboard attached to his handlebars there. and he's actually doing the other option for steering and lane selection and braking, which is the button prompt version.
Yes. Well, I think that he's a purist. You know, he's been involved in the early days with Cadesport, and you know, before the companion app was developed or while it was being developed, we all used keyboards, and I think that there's a comfort level in that, and maybe a sense of control. You know, that you've kind of got it figured out. I know that my keyboard is waterproof that I race with, so when it rains sweat, I don't have to worry about it. All right, we've got Christian and Tim. Whoa, pile up, clean up aisle 4. Oh boy, that happens. We've got Peter up in the front being like, all right, eat my dust, friends, and keeping a good couple second gap there on Frank. Now, if he just kind of continues to play it smart, play it cool, and keep the power up in the right places, he can... I had to say it. I ruined it for you, Peter. Oh, my goodness. See, I'm not even going to talk about it. All right, Frank, also still in the aero position there on the TT bike. Interesting choice, 609 watts, really laying it down. Frank Garcia here in that position, just, you know, kind of limiting his wind resistance and making a trade, right? I would have less wind resistance, but also less road resistance. So if I make a break, I can go just that much faster. Here, you can see he stopped pedaling through the corner, then he drops the power back on, just like you do outside, and then he drops the power up. There he goes. He's that wind at his back. Not letting Sebastian close. You know, and he knows he can look over his shoulder and he can see those riders coming up behind him, but 800 watts now. Boo! Look at that. Played that again with the combo. That's just advanced moves. Lap 2 of 2, but then it runs out before. Oh, I love it. Like, you know what though? Here's the thing. Like, it is so cool when people just sort of like go for it. You know, Christian was just like, I am just going to go for it and lay it down. There's only 3 short laps here. Anything can happen. We've got 4.5 kilometers to go. Peter here still out in front here. Recovered nicely from that crash.
Peter's making fine use of other people's crashes here, which is fantastic. He's just keeping cool, calm, and collected, literally like the team name, and just waiting for his chance to really show off his handling skills.
Well, and I think he's on rollers too. Can we just applaud the fact that he's got the keyboard and he's on rollers? I mean, come on, Peter. Like, this is just like, you're a class act, man. That is incredible. I am super impressed with that. I I don't want to tell my friends I fell off my rollers. I don't want to get hurt. If I'm going to crash, I want to crash outside. Well, not really. I don't want to ever crash. But Peter, nice work there. Just showing us how it's done. Holding the front. Carl Axel saying, hey, remember me? I am not going to let go of Peter here. I'm going to hang on to his wheel. 3.8 kilometers to go. You can see there Carl Axel and Peter, you know, just holding his line, not letting, and you know what, if I think about it too, that's probably why he's got the keyboard now that, I couldn't even tell he was on rollers when I first looked at the keyboard. I was assuming he had the gyroscope, but it might be a little bit trickier to control, on the, you know, on the rollers. So that makes a lot more sense here. But it is great that you have both options to play for that, because it is a really great exercise, you know, when you're inside, and it does kind of break up just sort of the steady state of the trainer. It's more realistic to riding outside. It really does work on your sort of all around skills. So Peter in the front, Carl Axel just a second behind, Sebastian 4 back, Frank 13 back from Peter, but you can see Sebastian there. All right, and then we've got Frank still on the still riding you can't change the bikes mid course, but it is an interesting choice that he made that. I wonder if he was training and then just decided like, oh, I'll give this a try because I already know all the dynamics of all the other bikes. And you know, the mechanics in the game here. Here's my friend Homer, also of Team CCC. You know, in the game since the beginning here, very I think I said this before. He rides something like, whoa, 20,000 miles a year. Okay, Carl Axel drops the power up on the straightaway. Okay, and then he goes. He's got that protection coming through. Everybody using that power up to make sure that they don't slide out of the corner. Right, and then again, you see the animation of the power up dissolve away when the time has come up.
They're really chasing each other and hounding each other. It's worth noting that there's a 20-second recharge time on the power-up, so we might see them coming back into play very, very quickly.
So let's talk about that. So you can configure, a race organizer can configure these races with the power-ups that they want, with the refresh or a one-time use. That's correct, right? I just want to make sure that we communicate. Yeah. Whoa, Frank. Oh, I think that might have surprised
reminds me
him
of
as
my
well.
wipeout last night.
Oh, man. Yeah.
I was riding out on my fat bike in the real world and wiped out in the snow.
I hope you're okay.
Oh, yeah. yeah.
Good. Yes, fat bike's
luckily,
going
I think the sting of the cold was worse.
I bet. Yeah. I just
that was a shock as well. Yeah.
Go ahead.
That was a shock as well. Like my top speed is like something like 18 kilometers an hour on a fat bike when you're going through the snow.
Yeah.
Compared to breaking 30 on a road bike.
Yeah. And here comes Kay Thompson. We know Kay, also Team CCC. But that's sort of also kind of translates to the game, right? Where the mechanics in Cadesport takes those different bike characteristics and applies them to the road. Just like you were noting that Frank was using the time trial bike that there's less rolling resistance, which might have come into play with the top speed where he slid out. Obviously you wouldn't want to pick a mountain bike for this course. So these racers, have to pick the right tools. They have to know what the power-ups do. They have to know the course and when to play them. We've got 1.1 kilometers to go. This week's racing is much more technical than last week's. Last week was all about the engine, all about the power. And today is all about the tactics, the strategy, and the ability to recover from a mistake. And of course, the best way to recover from a mistake is not to make one, but that's pretty darn hard when your heart rate is near maxed out. And you are running here for the position here. You can see Peter Kastrup in front, 1 second ahead of Carl Axel, 0.8 kilometers to go. So right now it's between Carl and Peter, and they are faced off on your screen. You can see their intensity. You can see their passion here coming around the last bend, and then we've got a straightaway into the finish here. Carl dropping the power here, 800. Whoa, 49 kph, closing it down here, 54 kilometers faster than Peter, dropping in the wind at his back, coming into the corner. He does have, I was wondering if he was going to be able to, not slide out. Remind me what the name of that power-up is. I keep forgetting it with the shield.
Off the top of my head, I can't remember. But Peter's using the wind at his back.
Yep. Then I think that just is like it stops you from crashing. It's not a corner caper, but it stops you from crashing, so you don't have to worry about it. And Peter came across a line on the inside. Carl's reaction is priceless. Peter raises his hand, holds onto the door so he doesn't slide off the back of his thing. Whoa, that was pretty sneaky. I think Carl Axel thought he had it. I don't know if we have a replay of that finish, but that was just insane. Like, I think it was like by a fraction. Incredible there by Peter. And that's the thing. He says, I don't care that you've got the power up. I don't care that you're not sliding out. I am never giving up. So you just can never stop pushing. On board here with Frank as he gets ready to finish the race, adding some power here, dropping it down, 182 on his heart rate, 234 there, and comes through the corner at 29 and then hits the finish line. Nice work, Frank. Whoa, but look at that. Homer said, no way, Jose. No, he said, no way, Frank. A couple upsets there at the finish, sneaking around the back. Very funny. Looks like Erhan had a little crash there at that final corner. Have to gear back up and get restarted, losing some position. But those are the races, my friend. What's next, Mark?
So next we'll have the same on Saturday. So we'll be back in the same two maps, going to the Sun Road Smash and Lakeview.
Fantastic. So fantastic. That will be coming up on Saturday. And right now you can see on your screen that the riders are going to go to Ride 3 and cool it down. And you can see the live results here. Peter Kastrup just look at that, by like a sliver. He came around Carl Axel for the upset. But as you said, Carl Axel is always one of the top 3 placings. Sebastian, Christian, Homer, Frank, Erhan. That was some incredible racing. And that's going to do it for Thursday. I'm Beth York.
And I'm Mark Allen-Will.
We will see you next time. That was so much fun. Oh my gosh. Thanks, Mark. It was a pleasure to work with you again. And wow, great job, racers. Woo! Yeah. We'll see you for more racing on Saturday right here on Cadesport.